Interesting stories. Interesting people. Welcome to the Humble Badger Podcast.
Thank you for listening to this podcast today. Remember to like and follow us at The Humble Badger on Twitter and Facebook, or at The Humble Badger Podcast on Instagram. Now, this episode is brought to you with the help of our promotional partners at Good Foundations Music, who are committed to giving you an opportunity to explore, refine, and express yourself. You can find out more at goodfoundationsmusic.com. My name is Pablo Dawson, and I am your host for this episode. I am a big fan of classical music, and amongst my greatest composers of Western classical music of all time, I will actually count John Williams, because even though he does Star Wars and Superman and things like that, and a lot of people might say that he doesn't belong in the ranks of the Tchaikovskys and the Beethovens, and perhaps he does not. But when you're asking me about my favorite, I'm going to go with John Williams. My co-host might disagree with me. I'll let him introduce himself right now.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. My name is The Identity Crisis. I'm a rapper, singer, producer, songwriter, and filmmaker. And if you happen to like that opening theme to this podcast, then you like me.
It is a heck of a theme.
It's heavy on the classical music influence. Too, you notice that?
I didn't quite notice that part. But on that note, what is your favorite composer of Western classical music?
Oh, man, you can't go wrong with Beethoven or Bach. Or both Bachs, to be honest.
Or both.
Yeah, and quite frankly, okay, those are probably my favorites.
Beethoven and Bach.
Yeah.
You just like the Killer Bees, I think.
I do.
Yeah. Well, the bee is very friendly with the badger. They got the same colors of the podcast, so we're cool with that. Our next guest definitely knows something about classical music, and here to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elisa Malatesta of Malatesta Opera Events, and I'm a soprano, and I specialize in singing for all types of events.
Thank you very much. And Elisa, you've heard our opinions on Western classical musical composers. Who is your favorite?
My favorite would have to be Puccini.
Puccini?
Yes. I sing a lot of his arias.
Okay. What do you like most about Puccini?
Well, he just has a lot of beautiful arias that I've become most comfortable singing, and especially for my soprano voice. And I actually sung 2 arias that are on my Beauty Passion Voice album.
Okay. Now, for those of us who are not musical geniuses like yourself, and perhaps the identity crisis here, please explain, because to me, Arya is my fictional daughter from Game of Thrones, Arya Stark. But I'm sure Arya means something else in the musical world. Can you explain to some of us lay people what an aria is?
An aria is the main song of an opera.
Okay.
So like the opera of Gianni Schicchi, that's also by Puccini, is... The big aria, the big main song of the opera is O mio babbino caro.
I see. Okay. Yeah, no, the only aria I know, I remember there used to be a composer, Yanni. I don't know what happened to him. You don't hear about Yanni anymore. I mean, he did the British Airways commercial, and it was called The Aria. I found out. I downloaded it on Spotify. Yanni, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on the podcast. Feel free to, get in touch through thehumblebadger.com. But yeah, so you've been singing for a very long time. You've sung all kinds of different disciplines, like from pop to Christmas tunes to classical music to opera. What is your favorite to sing, say, around the house?
To be honest, I really like to sing pop and just the contemporary stuff. I really enjoy that. I listen to it a lot at home, but as for performances, I go classical and crossover. Right. And I love Latin music.
Latin music.
Yes, very much.
Cool.
I actually came across a song, 2 songs by Pitbull, and I think he's very good. And there's one, it's called 3 to Tango, and if you haven't listened to it, it's very, very good.
The only Pitbulls I know are the ones that my brother used to have. So
They're illegal now, right?
Yeah.
That's right. I said used to. I said used to. That's for sure. Okay, so now for those of you who don't know, she can sing opera. You can definitely hit some very high notes.
Yes.
What's on the minds of the listeners based on the questions that we've received online is exactly how often do you have to rebuy the glasses in your home?
Pretty much every week. No, I'm just kidding.
Do your neighbors ever get fed up with it?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, especially in the summertime when all the windows are open and I'm practicing.
What about you, Paul? Do you sing in the shower and stuff?
I'm a soprano.
You're a soprano?
Oh yeah.
Sounds like you could hit those notes. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yes. In a past life when I was a eunuch.
Ah, I see. Yeah, we're not going to get into that on this episode. Perhaps at a future episode, we will ask the identity crisis about his eunuch days. Stay tuned for that. I'm sure everybody is dying to hear about that.
You mind if I ask a question real quick?
Go ahead.
What were your inspirations when you were young growing up? What were your influences? As a vocalist, primarily.
I'm sorry?
As a vocalist.
I really got into Celine Dion.
Oh, yeah.
And then my father started to introduce me to Pavarotti, and then the three tenors, Pavarotti, Domingo, and Carreras, and then Maria Callas, and but I also enjoyed the music, the 90s music, the dance songs and stuff like that. I can't even think of who I was listening to at the time. But
it was Ace of Base. She saw the sign. Well, that's interesting. It's funny. She's a music professional. You know how I know this, Paul?
How's that?
She knew the name of the third tenor.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, good point.
I know Pavarotti.
Yeah, that's.
I said that real caker-like, right? Pavarotti, Pavarotti, yeah, and Domingo, and it's the other guy. I didn't know the name. It's the other guy. I learned that from Seinfeld, actually.
Oh, there you go.
I'm also a fan of '90s, pop culture references, anyway. So, so your vocalist, it sounds like you had a wide range, and that influences your music today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you like to do for fun? What are your hobbies, your interests, your guilty pleasures?
Outside the stage, I really enjoy working out, and I love baking.
Ooh.
And I also...
Those are polar opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, working out and baking.
Well, the baking makes her work out more.
There you go. See, especially during the holidays,
That's
I
right.
did a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I also love riding my bike in the summertime. I just bought a bike a few years ago, and I love it. It's fun.
These are all activities that I have little to no interest in, except for the baking part. I would love to eat some of the baked goods, and she brought some with her today, and you can't see this, but they were really good.
Well, that's great podcast right there.
Yeah, take a look at them now. They're outside. They're outside.
Fair enough.
Maybe we'll put some
I like that.
photos.
I should have brought some. Damn.
You did. They're outside. We're going to put up the pictures on thehumblebadger.com maybe later. We'll see. So basically, you do like baking and biking. Two more killer bees, I might add.
There you go.
So now it seems like, you could definitely think on your feet because you have such diverse interests. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Sure, of course.
So here's how it's going to work. We're going to randomly ask you. We have a list of I think it's 84 questions here. And we're just going to randomly go back and forth. You're going to say the first thing that pops into your head. Try not to think about it too much. You are welcome to pass. We don't want to get into anything controversial. So if you're about to blurt out something that's, wrong in many ways, we can,
you can edit it out.
Yeah, you just yell pass. You just yell pass. And so Paul will ask you one, then I'll ask you one, and then we'll go back and forth, okay?
Okay.
So hit it, Paul.
Okay, first, what's your favorite carb? Bread, pasta, rice, or potatoes?
I'd have to say pasta.
Oh, of course.
I would go with rice. What about you?
I'm no carbs.
You're no carbs, yeah.
So, but when I do cheat once a week, so I do crave pasta every couple
pasta's
weeks.
good. There's no doubt. Okay, so it's my turn. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
Oh, I'd go into the medieval times.
Really? That's an interesting answer.
Yes,
Why?
yes. I just like that period, and especially the dresses, and then just the way that they speak. The proper English is beautiful.
Right on.
Are you sure you're not just basing this on the one time you went?
Romantic.
Well, but are you sure you're not just basing this on the one time you went to medieval times in Toronto?
No, not at all. No, I actually went last summer, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, really? Okay. It's like, yay, we die at 30. I don't know. It just seems like an odd. I've never heard anyone. She wins, folks. I've never heard anyone give that answer. Have you? I want to go back to the medieval era.
I mean, there was a lot of beheadings back then.
Yeah, that's right.
I find that that's kind of a detractor for most people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even royalty back then was not safe. You literally could lose your head. Yeah. It was very difficult. It's an interesting thing. But we got more.
Okay. What was your last Halloween costume? The last one that you ever dressed up?
The last one I've ever dressed up as, I think it was, I forgot her name. She's from Rapunzel. She was the Mother Gothel.
Okay.
Yes.
Mother of Dragons, what?
Mother Gothel.
Well, that seems very medieval. She's on brand here.
Yes, definitely. I thought you said Mother of Golf Balls. I'm like, who is that? Top flight, indeed. Okay, my turn?
Yes, sir.
So, say a word in Spanish.
Hola.
Hola.
Easy.
That was easy.
I know cerveza.
And hermosa. Hermosa, which means beautiful.
Was that the ones?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I have some trivia called up here. Are you ready?
Sure.
Again, this is not necessarily to highlight the level of knowledge that you have. It is something fun, but we might also be able to learn something both here in the studio and out into the audience. So you mentioned Puccini. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about Puccini, okay? So I've got his page here, and yes, it's brought to you by the good folks at Wikipedia. And I see here that he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count them, 5 middle names. Can you name one of those middle names?
Antonio.
You're actually correct.
Yes.
Antonio is correct. She has one. Very good. So you know him pretty well. Okay. Next question. What year did Puccini pass on?
It would have to be sometime in 1950s.
In the 50s?
Yeah.
Can you be more specific?
52.
Well, if you reverse it and then take away a year, you'd be correct. It's 1924. So Puccini lived from 1858 to 1924. And those who don't know, he was an Italian opera composer who has been called the greatest composer of Italian opera after Verdi. Okay, and that was by Italian Composer Magazine and also by Malatesta Opera Events, who indicated that. So, Elisa, what's upcoming for you in 2020?
I'm going to be working on some original songs.
Excellent.
I'm very excited to be doing that. It's going to be a lot of pop and crossover stuff. And I'm also going to be putting on a few shows in spring and possibly working on a Christmas show.
Yeah, the Christmas show that you did last year was a big hit. So that definitely sounds like something that it was a lot of fun too, I hear, for everybody that was there.
It was amazing. We all had a great time.
Yeah, Christmas just brings out something in an audience, isn't it? Like they seem to be obviously in a very festive mood and everything.
Yes, and we got them to sing along.
That's right. It's quite interesting. If you have not been to one of these shows, you can visit malatestaoperaevents.com for more details on that. Paul, do you have any words there for Elisa?
Make sure you give her a follow on Instagram. It's at Malatesta_opera_events to stay up to date with what she's got going on.
That's right. And even though they're underscored, there's nothing underscored about her talent. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Here at the Humble Badger Podcast. We're just going to wrap things here. Once again, we would like to thank our promotional partners at Good Foundations Music. If your organization is interested in sponsorship or promotional partnerships, please contact us. And And for any inquiries from anyone, please visit thehumblebadger.com for contact information and send us a message through social media. Thank you for tuning in. Signing off from the set here at Trax Ahead Studio, I'm Pablo Dawson. Wherever you are and whatever you do, remember to follow your passion.
Thank you for tuning in to the Humble Badger podcast. For more information, please visit thehumblebadger.com. The Humble Badger podcast is produced by the Pablo Dawson Company. Context matters. See you next time.